Welcome everyone. This is another episode of Finding Common Battleground. So I'm Tommy. This is Ryan. This is a podcast that's dedicated to both the left and the right, hearing both sides talking about. I'm a conservative. Ryan's a liberal, and we're going to talk about both sides of certain subjects tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about. I know everyone's been talking about it, but we're going to talk about Biden and if he's going to stay in the race and his status in the campaign. But we're going to talk about something very specific and not just the usual stuff that most people have been talking about. And then we're also talking about UK. Ryan was recently in Great Britain, and they just had their elections, and the Labour Party did well there. And so we're going to talk about that outcome and what that means. So Josh isn't with us today. his house burned down. I'm not even joking. His house burned
It's so
down.
terrible that we're laughing about this, right? But we shouldn't be laughing. Josh has got a good sense of humor, right? So he has been cracking jokes about it, but we're laughing because that never happens.
Right.
That's neither of us have ever known anybody whose house is actually burnt down. And it sounds like we're joking that Josh's house burned down, but legit his house burned down.
It's like dog ate my homework kind of thing. Yeah. Like, no, my house burned down. No,
legitimately
really?
His house burned down. So
yeah. So he's
preoccupied.
He's fine.
A week
Family's
ago.
fine.
Literally
Everyone's fine.
Yes.
He's just homeless right now.
He's living with his in-laws. Not that that's so much better, but he's living with his in-laws. They're fine. They have insurance. Everything will be okay. But he currently does not have a computer or a headset to join a podcast. So we'll bring Josh back in when he's capable of joining.
I'm gonna drive by his house and go check it out sometime. All right. So
we should do a shout out to our sponsor,
Lux Bidets.
Yeah, Lux Bidets can do a lot of things. They cannot stop house fires.
Don't say that. You don't know that. Catch it early enough. You point that stream in the right direction.
Turn it on and just be
full flush.
Yeah. Maybe if the fire had started in his bathroom. It did not. It started in the basement, right? Josh does have a Lux Bidet, or he did. You know what? I've got a spare sitting around. Maybe
those things have a lot of power, man. You put those. They do. I can't run my bidet at full blast. It's painful. It's like on level 1. Yeah. Yes. It's.
I'm gonna have to check with Josh and see if he needs a Lux Bidet, because I've got one sitting here.
He's gonna need a replacement.
He's gonna need a replacement. Stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Lux Bidet, our sponsor. At the end, we talk about how you can get one at a discount, right? Using our discount code, which will be at the end of the podcast. Anyway, so Tom, you're tackling our first topic today.
Yes.
It's nuanced on Biden running for president. Give us the nuance, and then we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll give you. Okay. Yeah. I'll just jump into it, but so basically, what I sent Ryan was essentially it was a CNN live or a CNN video. They were interviewing Representative Adam Smith. I'm not actually familiar with that person, with that representative. I'm not even sure if they're Republican or Democrat. I think they're Democrat, but they were talking, but they were basically talking about how Biden, there was a news article talking about how Biden was complaining that the elites were pushing him out. He was getting pressure from elites, and that's not what the American people wanted, and that he's staying in the race, right? And this is what we've been hearing. He's staying in the race. But he was making an interesting point that the elites that he's referring to, he was the benefactor of this back in the 2020 elections when Bernie Sanders was going to be was amping up to be the presumptive nominee, and he had some momentum. He was leading. He had the highest electoral count, and right before Super Tuesday, there was some shifting. Something happened, and Amy Klobuchar and Peter Buttigieg, they both dropped out, and it essentially propelled Biden to he basically did really well in the Super Tuesday, which then sort of just pushed him on, and he became the nominee, and Bernie Sanders didn't and fell off, right? And like I think but Bernie did cry foul a little bit on that, and during the Hillary Clinton one, the in the previous, the 2016, he felt like he got gypped as well.
Mhm.
um but that was just basically like something happened, and there was a lot of people that said that was Obama, that was sort of like the puppet master. Barack Obama was like the puppet master of making these arrangements, saying, hey, you got to drop out Amy, you got to drop out Pete, we don't want Bernie Sanders, I gotta Biden's gonna be the guy, right? And that's like, that's never been confirmed,
Right.
but that was talked about back then. Anyway, so okay, so that's what I want to go into, is this elite that we're talking about, like this group, this shadow group. Now, but first, I want to take a step back, and I want to get your take on, post debate. There's been a lot of fallout from Biden's performance and things like that. What is your take? What is your take?
Yeah. Little bit of like strange background. So I mean, we're going to be talking about the UK, but I was in the UK during the debate. Okay. And of course, it's like a 5 hour difference from where I was. So I didn't watch the debate. It was late. I was at a conference. I had lots of stuff going on. So I woke up that next morning and I actually was like busy with conference stuff. So I get to the conference at like 9 a.m. UK time. And immediately, like three people, two from the UK and one from the US, were like, "Did you see the debate?" And I was like, "No, no." And they're like, "Oh, it was bad." And I'm like, "Oh." And, not surprisingly, like they're all PhDs, they're all academics, they're all pretty left leaning, and they were all just horrified.
They're like in
Um,
mourning.
yeah, like this is really, really bad. So later that day, I did finally watch some clips. So I didn't see the whole debate,
But
and
you're
it was
watching the
bad.
clips that everybody else watched, right?
Yes,
In the
right. So I
nation.
didn't
Yeah.
watch the whole thing, but clearly, there are the spots where he's just like hanging there with his mouth open. He missed the biggest softball in history, the abortion one, and turned it into like his biggest weak point, or like, immigration. And he's like, "Yeah, immigrants are killing women." And I'm like, "What are you
Right,
saying?"
right,
Like,
right.
you so could have taken this and just like, kaboom. It was a disaster, right? 100% a
Yes.
disaster. Now, I think we said this like way back when, like Biden was not my candidate in 2020, but of course I'm going to vote for him compared to Trump, right? I would still do that today, but do I want Biden? No, right? And here's the crazy thing.
Well, sorry,
Oh,
you don't want Biden because
I
he'll
don't.
lose, or
Well, I
because
mean, he could lose at this point, right? The polling numbers are not in his favor. Um, I genuinely think like he's old, right? Like I was talking to somebody the other day and they said he was saying there should be like an age limit for presidents, right? I think there should be an age limit for Supreme Court justices. I think a lot of these. I'm not a fan of term limits for representatives, things like that. Term limits for president, fine. That's fine. But I think there should be an upper cap for age limit, right? And what I was about to say is I know some 81-year-olds who are actually pretty spry, right?
right.
Like just because you're 81 doesn't mean like
Don't just
you're
write me off.
yeah. But I also know some 81-year-olds, like, well, there are a lot of people who die before 81, right?
No,
Like
totally.
lots.
Right.
There are lots of people who are on dramatic declines. There are people with Alzheimer's. I don't think Biden has that, right? But he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not as spry. He bumbles things all the time. He has bad days. Maybe that was just a bad day. I didn't
That's what he
watch.
said.
Yeah, that's what he said. He just did this press conference yesterday, right? So we're doing this on Friday, July 12th. He did a press conference yesterday. Apparently, he did better, but he still had major flubs, right?
Yes.
He called
Yes.
Kamala Harris Vice President Trump, and he referred to the president of Ukraine as President Putin, right?
Yes.
Those are not like, I mean, I get
Right.
it. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody did this once a year, big deal, but this is Biden,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And
Well,
yeah, it's bad. It's just
I
bad.
okay. So a couple things. Do you think he's not fit for office?
Is he more fit than Donald Trump? Yes. But that bar is so low because Donald Trump is an inveterate liar, right? He does not know what the truth is. He is completely self interested. all he cares about is like avoiding prison time and doing things that benefit him. So it's like, do I
Well,
want a mafia boss or do I want a senile old man?
yeah.
Those are my two choices right now, right?
Well, and I don't want to compare, I'm not trying to compare Biden against Trump, right? Like, I want to say, like, is he
Hmm.
fit to run the country, right?
Okay,
Should he
so
be,
if it was like midterm, right? Like let's say he's just started his first term for office and this is what's happening, then
right?
I would absolutely say no, I don't think he really should be in office. Is he so bad that he's like not fit in the sense of like we have to pull him out now? I don't think that's the case now.
Like, he could finish out,
He could finish his term,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Because he's got
He
what,
could,
6 months? Not
because
even have
clear,
6 months, right?
well,
Yeah.
and this is the question and kind of what I'm getting at is like, do you think he's being handheld a lot?
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
it's bad when like even Democrats are saying like, yeah, his handlers are keeping him from the public because we know how bad it actually is.
right,
And we can see that, right? So I
right.
get like we've had all these issues with the media, but even the media at this point has kind of turned on him and they're full on admitting like things are bad. He's got handlers and his handlers are keeping him out of the public because it's bad.
But okay, and so I want to get to this is like, is that do you? Because I'm really curious. Like, do you think so? Like, it was like, so Biden has the debate, and everyone's like, "Whoa, Biden's not doing well. Like, what the heck?" And stuff that people have been saying for quite a while,
Yeah.
right? And but everyone's been like, "No,
Mostly
no, he's sharp.
conservatives.
He's
Mostly
sharp."
conservatives have been saying
Yes,
that for quite a while.
yes.
People on the left have basically not seen it or they've been ignoring it.
Well, right. And that's the thing is like everyone's like, well, oh my goodness, look at this. So, wow.
Hard to miss it now.
Well, you can't hide it,
Yeah,
right? That
can't
was
hide
the
it in a
issue.
debate.
And that, well, and what is it? So some Democrats were saying, hey, we've been lied to, right? We're being lied to. And like,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Lied to by whom? Can you clarify that, or just generally we're being
I
lied
would say, well, I would say aides and family that are
to?
surrounding Biden are protecting him, but then
Hmm.
the media is also protecting the campaign by kind of going along with this narrative.
Um, I don't know to what extent the media is actually complicit on this because the New York Times has actually come out and said that they think he should drop out of the race.
But yeah, that was post debate though.
Yeah, that was supposed to be, right? So
Yeah.
you mean before the debate, have we been
Yes,
lied to?
yes. Well, I mean, because that's what's like post debate is like everyone's like, whoa, and
It's
it's
impossible
like,
to hide anymore. Yeah.
but that's what yeah, because like you've got there's a great clip that was running around that was Joe Scarborough, right? And Morning Joe. And he was like, he is this on the best game he's ever had. He is top of his game. This is the best Joe Biden intellectual you're ever going to meet. And I wouldn't say if I didn't think it was true. And this is like not that long ago. It's like a few months ago he's saying this. And he's trying to shut down the haters, right? And
Mhm.
that he's like totally with it. And it's like, and people have been playing that and just mocking it, right? And it's like, it looks bad, right? That they're like,
Yeah.
and then,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, for sure, right? So I keep hearing different interesting statistics that I think, like again, they're interesting to me. He has had the fewest press conferences of a sitting president since I think the second term of Reagan, when Reagan was also having these kinds of issues, right? But like again, people hit him. Um, there's a reason why he's not having open press conferences, right? He's not having open press conferences because it's hard to hide that
yes,
he's got lots of flubs, he's slow, he's not as quick as he used to be. I did hear some commentary based on his press conference yesterday that like he does have a well of knowledge, right? He's been at this political game longer than we've been alive, right? He was first elected to the Senate before we were born, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been at this for 50 plus years, right? Like
yes.
I think the knowledge is there,
Just a matter
but the
of
recall is
getting it
like,
out of there.
yeah, the recall is not there anymore. He's old, right?
Well, yeah, and so here's the thing. So even in the press conference yesterday, he said someone brought this up that I thought it was interesting there because they were going through a Q&A afterward with some, and they even said they were like selected people that were going to ask him some questions, and they did,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of them brought up something about his aides, and he said yeah, my aides are doing great work, da da da, and I do add stuff from time to time. And it was sort of bringing, but it was weird, right? And someone was commenting on it like, well, that's weird, right? It sounds like the aides are, hey, this is what we're gonna do, da 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 da. What about that? Oh yeah, sure, we'll put that in there. Thanks, Joe. And that it's not really he's he's 25% and everyone around him is running the rest of the show, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a stretch to like people. That's not weird for me to say. I think everyone would be like, yeah, that makes sense. It, what I was concerned with before was the hand holding, like people leading him around, right? I saw that a lot. There was
Hmm.
like quite a few videos of people like grabbing him and kind of, oh no, you want to go over this way or this way, right? And I'm like, well, if that's happening in public, right? Like a policy and things like that? Is there a lot of hand holding, like, hey, we're just gonna do this, da, 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 da. And, okay, okay, right?
Yeah.
And just this kind of we're running the show, and that's what I'm trying to say is like, do you think there is that this elite that Biden's talking about, is there this elite that's sort of pulling some strings?
Again, pre-debate or post-debate?
Well, yeah, no, pre-debate. Like, what have they
Pre-debate.
been there
Yeah.
and are they doing stuff? So what I'm saying is, yeah, they've turned against Joe, but like,
Yeah.
have they been there the whole time? Like, it's like I've always feared that Joe is not all there and that he's being like there's more people there than a lot of
He's a
other
bit of a
people
puppet.
that are pulling the levers than he is. And like, okay, I'll just cut to the chase here. I don't know if that's a bad thing, right? In the sense that, like, here's the thing: no matter who they put in,
Yeah.
you're gonna vote for them, right? Like
I mean,
if it's
if the
Kamala.
opposition is Trump, then yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're not going
Yes.
to vote for Trump.
No.
So you're going to vote for him. And or you're going to vote for whoever it is,
Yeah.
right? If it's Kamala, if it's Newsom, if it's whoever.
Hmm.
And I don't know, because like a lot of people are, well, a lot of it comes down to policies rather than the person.
Sure. Yep.
And, and so anyway, I don't, so I'm not saying, I don't know if I think it is. Well, okay, I'll make a couple of points here. This is that that's something you've said quite a few times, is that it's Donald Trump's part. He owns the Republican Party.
Hmm.
You've said that a few times. Like
Yeah.
it's his party and he
Yep.
owns it. And like, yeah, and I've agreed with you. He
Hmm.
does,
You have.
right?
You have. Yep.
And but like, is it Biden's party? I would say it's not. And then if it isn't, who is it? Whose is it,
Hmm.
right? Who's running it and who's in charge? Who's in charge of the Democratic Party? And like that's here's the thing. When if I voted Republican, if I voted for Trump, I'd be voting for Trump, right?
Hmm.
If you're voting for the Democratic nominee, whoever that is, if it's Biden or whatever, you're not voting for Biden, right? Even if Biden was on the ticket, you're probably not voting for
I'm really
him.
not voting for Biden.
You're just voting for the machine.
Yes. I'm
Is
voting
that
for the policies behind it. Yeah.
is that good? Is that bad? Right? Uh,
I'm okay with it, but for a variety of reasons, right? So
yeah.
in in other like parliamentary systems, right, where it's a different approach, right? Sometimes you do vote for specific candidates, but often you don't vote for a candidate, you vote for a party, and then the
Yeah.
party apportions out who gets to sit in parliament or whatever it is.
Yes.
That's effectively what I would be doing at this point, right? Is
Well, and
I'm giving the vote to the Democrats because I
they're
don't want Trump.
right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And there's plenty of like people voting the party line, right?
Yep.
Just straightforward voting party line because they're like, and that's the thing, right? You're like, no, like 4 years ago, it's like, oh, Trump or Hillary. Well, don't like Trump, but no, I'm not going to vote for Hillary, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
so I voted for a third party, right? And I'm just like, okay, I'm like, that's that's what I've done, right? Since I've never voted for Trump, and that's so but it's more symbolic than anything, right? And now
Hmm.
here's the issue I'm getting at, and it's like I brought this up before, but like you have I think there is an elite group that is power brokering
Mhm.
what's in power, what's going to be in power, right? That like, because it's like, there's the funny thing. Someone gave an article, and I thought it was so interesting. They were saying they're saying the media is too powerful. They're telling, because there's all these articles coming, just like you said, that cited the New York Times telling the president to step down. No one has ever told President Trump to step down. They said, you're an idiot, you're the worst, blah, 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 you should be impeached, whatever. No one's ever said you need to step down. Like, this is kind of very interesting to me, right? It's like, you need to step down, you need to get out of the way, right? It's like, wow, right? And Biden's been like, no, I'm not,
Yeah,
right? And
he's
it's
pretty
like,
obstinate, which is unfortunate.
well, it is what it is.
Mhm.
Right. I think I do believe if they're going to change it, they got to change it immediately. And if he's not going to, then it's like, then you probably need to get on board with him as a flawed candidate, even though
Yeah,
there's no good path forward, because even if he steps down, it's going to be a crap show, right?
yeah,
And they
it
might be able
is.
to
Yeah.
orchestrate something.
So one of the things that I'm struggling with right now, right? I do make political donations. Now, I'm not like a mega donor by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll donate several $100s during the course of a presidential campaign. Right now, I can't bring myself to donate to the Biden campaign. Now, if he becomes the formal nominee, will I probably, bite the bullet and do it? Yeah, probably. But I would really like somebody else to step in. I really would. And if they did, right? Like I honestly, I mean, maybe there are some people I would give money to. But if it was Kamala Harris, if it was Gavin Newsom, if it was any number of people, I would probably tomorrow make a donation, right?
Yeah,
Probably tomorrow. But right now I'm literally like, Biden, get the hell out of the race.
the
Stop it.
weird thing with Biden is you don't know. Therefore, if you give him money and it's to the Joe Biden campaign, he keeps that money. That's his.
Yeah.
That's his war chest, and it's like he can do with it what he wants to. And you're like, well, okay, I just kind of gave it to this guy as a gift, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it has to be election related.
Right. Now, presumably he
Funds.
could transfer that over,
Yeah,
they could do it.
yeah.
So, like, yeah, should I be giving him money? Probably, but I just have a really icky feeling, right? Right now, I don't know if I told you this. I bought a yard sign that says Obi-Wan, you're our only hope, 2024, right? That's my yard sign out front right now.
That's your state of your
Yes,
morale.
it's like I cannot vote for Trump, right? The guy he's a felon. He's a scumbag. He's horrible. And I don't want to vote for Biden, but I will if those are my only two choices.
Yes. Well, and I get, yeah, this is where so many people are at, right? Of like, and on both sides, right? Like, I don't like, I'm the opposite, right? I don't like Trump, but I'm not going to fight for Biden, right? It's
Right.
like, and
Yeah.
so so what I'm getting at is like, Trump is this like wild card. Media hates him, and what it tells me, and like, there's this great. Did you ever see the Dave Chappelle and SNL opening when he talks
Mhm.
about why
Yeah.
people vote for Trump?
Oh
And
yeah.
it's so good, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, Trump walks outside this door and says, "Yeah, we're doing all the things in there that you think we're doing," and da da da. And he's like,
He's
and then he
like, and
goes,
I'm doing it, and I'm
and
gonna go
I'm
back in
doing
and
it.
keep doing it. And you're
Yeah, and they're
like,
gonna, right. And he was like, his jaw drops, right? He's like, holy crap. And it's what everyone has suspected for the longest time,
yep,
that yes, there is elites and they get special treatment and they do
yep.
things that they want to do, and they are above the law, right?
Hmm.
And but like, and this is like, it was like Trump was pulling the blanket off, right? And being like, this is what we're, and everyone's like, oh, right. And everyone's in the leaks are like, no, we're not doing any of that stuff. And there's a lot of like, people are saying, well, that's why they hate him, right? Because he's saying how it is, and he's bucking the establishment, right? And so I feel like, and they've treated him like that. They've tried to kill him, right? They've tried to take him out, like, not kill him like literally, but
Put him in jail. They've tried to put him in jail. I
well,
will
that
concede that.
and destroys reputation and things like that, right?
100%.
And
Yep, that's all
and
true.
it's like, I keep going back to this. It's like, I feel like we live in this world with we have a Praetorian Guard. And like, I don't know, I can't put my name on what it is. It's like agencies, media, there's like this group that seems to be like, we're gonna make sure this guy is the president. We're gonna make sure this guy wins. We're gonna make sure this guy loses. And Trump has been a thorn in their side, that sort of like this weird populist, right? The megalomaniac populist that's sort of like been hard to get out of, that doesn't fit their narrative, and it's been hard to get him out. And it's
Yeah.
made him a lot of money, right? So he's hard to ignore. But like, because I feel like there's just been like this is the way we do things, and this is the guy we want, and we're gonna make sure he gets up, and then oh, look, he's not good, to get him out of here, right? And there's a lot of strings being pulled, and I think he will step down. And I
You think
think,
Biden's going to step down?
yeah, I think like, you can see this. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can see this happening, right? And I think, uh, like I've said, I've never seen anyone say, "You need to step down, President." And it's like, wow, that's pretty bold, right? And like,
Very
everyone's
bold.
like, yeah, well, you do need to step down, right? Even George Clooney. I mean, can you
I
believe it?
know. George Clooney came out.
And that's what I'm saying, is like, it is, again, it's Praetorian Guard, right? It's like, hey, oh, you know what, we don't want Caligula, you're out, Claudius, you're in. And we're which they did throughout hundreds of
Hmm.
years. They would just put their guy in that they wanted. And I feel like they've upset the group, and the group is making some shifts, and I think he will step down. And I think it'll probably be a Kamala Newsom ticket, is what it'll probably be. But that's that's another story.
Hmm.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, it's this puppet mastery is
So,
concerning to me. And
yeah.
it
So,
just validates what I'm saying, is like, there's this group that seems to be controlling things. And
so are
I
you
don't like
getting at
it.
like a deep state argument here, Tom?
I am, yes. Yeah. And it is deep state-ish, but and I can make arguments from other sides as far as deep state, but I'm approaching it from a whole nother side of, like, look at there's clearly a puppet mastery going on within the Democratic Party. I mean, and
Yeah.
the Republican Party has their own issues, and they've had to deal with Trump, right? And they've got their own puppet mastery, and Trump has bucked that, and eventually won, right? And that's sort
Yeah.
of the point you've been making, is like, he defeated that puppet mastery, and it's his party, for good or for bad, right? And for me,
Hmm.
I can't get on board with it, right? So it's like, nope, I'm
Yeah.
out. But it's like, but when you vote for the Republicans, you are voting for Trump. When you're voting
Hmm.
for Democrats, you're voting for
The
the
machine.
machine.
Yeah.
And like,
So,
what do you
yeah.
think?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of deep state ideas, right? Because deep state seems like it's what controls all the government, not the parties. In the party sense, right? If we're just talking about like, are there people who kind of run the Democratic Party who are, we can call them elites if you really want, right? I don't love that term, but are there people who are kind of behind the scenes? We don't
I'm
really
just
know who
saying
they
what
are,
Biden
who are
said, all
running it.
right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? Historically, if there is a sitting president, he is the presumed leader of his
Yes,
party.
right.
Um, but there are other people, right? Like there's a chair of the Democratic Party, there's a chair of the Republican Party. In Trump's case, it's now what, like his daughter and son-in-law or something like. There's something weird going on over there
Oh,
that
right.
basically he put somebody in place, so he like literally controls the party. It's a family business
It's like
now.
his sister-in-law, right?
It's
Yeah. Or
Yeah, it's
sorry,
like
daughter-in-law.
his daughter-in-law who's like the
That's
co-chair of the Republican
Yeah,
Party now or
of the
something like that.
RNC. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I totally would concede that there are elites, like the people at the top of the Democratic Party. But I kind of wonder, right? And this is, I just don't know. I would say there are elites who are running the party, and they may have turned on Biden, or at least they're trying to push things that way. But then I think there's also a separate group, which is Biden's aides. And I don't think
Yes.
these are one and the same. I think they're
No.
actually two different groups, right? So I think
Well,
there's Biden's aides. They're probably talking a lot, right? But I think there's Biden's aides who are like, hey, we have to protect this guy. What their motivation is, if it's like maintaining power for them, maybe, I don't know. But I don't think that these are necessarily the same groups of people.
I
That would be
would
my take.
say, so here I agree with mostly what you're saying, but I would say, I think they were part of that group, but now you have a misalignment, right? Because
Okay.
the aides are
Yeah.
trying to protect themselves, right? They're like,
Yeah.
no, this is our thing, this is our campaign. There was even a congressman, a Democratic congressman, that made a kind of like a play or an idea that like we should vote for Biden because he has really good AIDS. And like there was someone, and it was, I can't remember his name. The black congressman, shoot, I don't remember his name, but but then someone was debunking it, saying, well, we don't vote for AIDS, we vote for the person, right? And they're trying to debunk that. And um and so like, yeah, for sure, like I think there was alignment, but now they're like, oh, all of a sudden there's like a chasm right now, and there's like this group. All of a sudden, there's this group that splintered off, and they're like, no, we want them to stay, right? And you've got like, family, maybe Hunter's advising, and the wife's advising Jill Biden. So like, they've got their own interest to stay in the party. And, like there's been I don't know if you've heard, like like people throwing out elder abuse, right? That they're like, no, Dad, you got this, right? You're good, right? And he's like, well, okay, right. That he's kind of
I
being
don't think we're
manipulated.
there. I think Biden is an obstinate old man who's like, no, I got this.
Okay.
I really do think, like, maybe there's some of it, but I really think that he's just like, he's really obstinate. He's like, no, I did this, right? I got here. It's finally my turn. Nobody gets to take this away from me. And I think it's going to be a slowly peeling his fingers off of the wheels of power, right? Yeah. You just reminded me of something though that was really funny. So my wife, she's going to hate this. I probably shouldn't say this, but she's involved in lobbying a senator right now, right? Marco Rubio. And so she literally talked to one of his aides today, and we just went out to do some shopping tonight. And the way she said it just cracked me up, because she's like, oh yeah, I was just talking to Marco Rubio's aides. And I was like, oh, so Marco Rubio has AIDS. Sorry. It's a terrible dad joke. And of course, that's what my son said. Yeah, my son was like, dude, you have the worst jokes. And I was like, come on, that was pretty funny, right? Marco Rubio has AIDS. Obviously, to our listeners, that's not true. I'm not saying that. It was just a terrible dad joke. But when Tom was like, they have the best AIDS, and I was like, okay.
Great AIDS. You should get their AIDS.
Anyway, sorry. Terrible joke. Maybe one of our listeners will crack a little bit of a smile on that one. Maybe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Like they probably were in lockstep for a long time, the elite of the Democratic Party and Biden's aides. I think there's a bit of a split right now, and I don't know how it's going to fall out. I would, man, I hope you're right, Tom. I really hope you're right that Biden steps down. He's got, I guess, a month and a half, roughly, until the Democratic convention.
Yeah.
Because it's in September, right? So he has some time. I sure hope he does it sooner rather than later.
What if, okay, I'm conspiracy theory, total
Nice.
conspiracy
Okay,
theory.
so
This is
flashing lights, conspiracy theory. We're owning that this is a conspiracy theory.
Yes. It's a wild prediction, but like I think I was thinking about this, like, what if he doesn't, right? And he's like, yeah, no, it's me, it's the Biden show. We're doing this. And he goes to he gets to the convention, right, and gets the nomination. I could see, and if he's still like, if it's still as bad as everyone's saying, right, like, and he's still making gaffes left and right, I could see this would be my prediction that yes, the deep state or the elitist group or whatever, the power stream, that he doesn't make it to the nominations, to the election.
As in, like, he dies?
He's an old man. His time could just go, right? He's old. Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Come with me
I
on
appreciate,
this.
like, we called this a conspiracy theory.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
100% I appreciate that we called this conspiracy theory, so everybody knows, like, we know we're just making shit up at this point. Like, there's no evidence for any of this. We're just speculating. I think if that happened, right? If that happened, there would be a sympathy vote
for
whoever replaces Biden, right?
Yeah, which would be Kamala.
Vote. Yeah,
she would.
So I think she would probably win it because of the sympathy vote.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing: it would unify the party.
Yep.
Right. Because you'd be like, oh, well, she's the nominee. It's no longer this. Oh, we got to stick with the guy. Right.
He died.
Yeah. he's dead. He's out of the way. And now we got to rally. We got to get behind. We got to unify. And I like I could totally see that. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's a nice, clean solution. If all right, if that happens, if this plays out, it's a wild scenario. If it plays out, you got to say, "Holy crap, Tom, you were right."
Holy crap, Tom, you killed Joe Biden. That's what I'm going to say.
No, I don't want anyone knocking on my door.
I was actually just checking. I don't know if you're familiar with the betting markets, right? Are you familiar with these betting markets?
Yeah.
So there was one on July 4th. It had jumped up to 35% that Biden was not going to be the nominee. And then he doubled down and it went up to 83% chance that he would.
Mm-hmm.
But as of yesterday, Kamala Harris moved ahead of Biden as the Democratic nominee in the betting markets.
Yeah. Well, I keep hearing this. I heard it 3 times and I was like, okay, this is just rumor mill. But like someone was like, it was like the next day after the debate, he was going to make an announcement and that he was going to step down. Then it was going to be because it was going to be July 4th, right? It was like July.
Right.
Oh, okay. And then it was going to be that Sunday. Then it was going to be the Monday. And then, and then it was like a couple days ago, he had a special announcement to make, right? The special press conference, right? And people were like, oh, but yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't know. But like, I keep hearing this, like, oh, he's going to step down. They've convinced him and now he's going to tell Kamala, but I don't know unless I'm writing that off right now.
Okay, so Secret Service, Tom is not threatening to do any harm to the president. Yeah. Just so we're clear, seriously. He has not done any harm to the president. But his conspiracy theory is that Joe Biden's going to die between now and the election or now and the convention.
If really, I mean, I guess if he doesn't, forfeit the office and step down, that between now and the election he could
have an accident.
Yeah, kill over, go the way of the dodo bird, whatever.
He will release this mortal coil and
exactly. Kick the bucket, buy the farm. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Are we good on that topic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're still talking about elections. Obviously, this is politics. Part of it, I do pay attention to international news, right? I've mentioned multiple times that I get my news from multiple sources, but I was in the UK and it was in the run up to the big election that they had just called Conservatives. And it's not just 2 parties. That's the advantage of a parliamentarian system where you have multiple parties. So there are actually 4 parties that have representatives in the lower house over there after this election, right? But the 2 big parties are Labour and the Tories or the Conservative Party. Conservatives have been in power for 14 years, and Labour just had arguably a landslide victory, right? It was like a very big victory. They got a lot of seats. They have a majority. There's a new prime minister over there, Keir Starmer. So big change, right? And part of what I wanted to talk about is just like why. And there are 2 things that I want to get at here. Which I think are interesting. One, I think you'd like definitively 100% agree with me. So maybe I'll start with that one. And then the second one, I really do kind of want your take on it. Yeah. And it's partly because like I kept hearing this from people who I was talking to while I was over there. And granted, most of them are academics, right? So we have like, a leg in the game. But I just kind of want to talk about both of those points and get your take on them. So the first one, which I think like this is no-brainer, right? There was clearly just backlash against the conservatives because they've been in power for so long. And it kind of, this was just a really clear illustration to me that the way a lot of people think is my life's not perfect, right? I'm struggling for this or that or the other. And the person who's responsible is whoever is currently in power. Right. So their vote is always going to be against the person who is in power just because their life isn't where they want it to be. Yeah. And that was my take, is like a big part of why Labour won in this election was because they were not the conservatives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. 100%.
Not because they had like radical policy differences.
Right.
It was because they're not the conservatives, and the conservatives have screwed us over. They've done a whole bunch of things. We're not happy with where we are. Okay.
You could almost say they're the Joe Biden of the UK election, right? The not Trump
They're not
vote,
Trump.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
Okay. So you agree with that?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Well, because they even said Starma, because I've been watching the reform movement a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the Starma, who's the head of the Labor Party, who picked up all the seats, they were saying he ran his whole campaign is change. It's change, right? And that's what like. And that, I mean, this is pretty common, right? Change to what? Who cares? Just different, right?
Let's just not them. I mean?
It's like,
we're not them.
We're gonna change to something else. But they've said like he's actually kind of a not really enigmatic leader, right? He's just sort of but like they're like, but he's not them. So he's like,
not charismatic. He's like a pretty basic lawyer bureaucrat. Like he's a technocrat, right? Like he's like, I can do things, but he's not charismatic. He's not exciting. And if you actually read like platform stuff, they're like, if we've got a continuum, right? Conservatives are this side of center, and Labor used to be pretty far to the left. He has shifted the party, so they're just to the left of center. But on a lot of issues, like there's no difference between the conservatives and Labor on many of the platform issues. There are differences on some, but there really are not major differences. It's just we're not the conservatives.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Other thoughts on that, or we're just like 100% in agreement?
You're making my point. I wrote some of the stuff down because like this is exactly what I was going to say. Because here's the thing, this is okay. So this is the point I was going to make, was that Reform is the Reform Party. They picked up 6 seats, which is
a big deal. It's a lot for them.
A lot for them, right? Yeah, it's not a lot in the big scheme of things, but they've kind of been. They're hoping to make like in the next rounds to really make substantial leads, but like this Reform is like this. Some would call them alt-right, but they're sort of, the argument they've been running on is the conservatives aren't the conservatives. We're the conservatives, and their point is, and they're making, and they're pretty valid points, is that like the conservatives were like, yeah, we're going to reduce immigration. They've increased immigration, right?
Yeah. Well,
their speech laws
in weird ways. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, they haven't done a lot of things that they said they were going to do.
Right.
They were going to like crack down on Rwanda immigrants, stuff like they didn't like they haven't.
They did some really weird things. It's interesting. We can talk about some of the specifics, but yeah.
But they have like their speech laws are becoming very censorship ownership. They almost seem like they're fighting against free speech and First Amendment rights, right? They don't have First Amendment rights, but like whatever they call it there. And they have out of control spending. So they have a net zero carbon emission target. So there's a lot of like very progressive ideas that they're promoting as the conservative party, not conservative at all, like from our standpoint, from my standpoint, or like Josh's standpoint. And so it's a really, so that's an odd thing. And I think a lot of people were like, so a lot of people got very disenchantized with them from a number of different reasons, and that's why Reform picked up some stuff, but also why everyone were like, well, we don't want you, right? You're not even what you say you're going to be. But anyway, that's so the point I would make.
Yeah. So, I mean, the article I sent to talk a little bit about the Reform Party, and Nigel Farage, was that his name?
Yeah.
So the leader of that, who is now in the House, the lower house. So he did get a seat, but their platform is like the Reform Party's platform is like no immigration, right? Like that's their primary issue. They were the ones.
That's their big.
Yeah, they're much harsher on this. I don't know if you've caught some of the details on what the Conservative Party did when it comes to immigration, but I've been reading a little bit about this. It's like super interesting. So a big part of their platform was like, yeah, immigration's an issue. And I'll talk a little bit about that in terms of like some of the conversations I had when I was over in the UK, because it was weird. But one of the things they did is like, we're going to stop immigration. And really what they were trying to say is we're going to stop immigration from like unskilled workers who are just like fleeing poverty. Right.
Right.
But what they then turned around and did is said, we're going to import skilled workers, right? So we don't have enough doctors. So they've started importing doctors from India and Pakistan, right? So there are a whole bunch of Indians and Pakistanis who are actually coming over who are skilled workers, and they're fine with that. So 2022 was actually the highest rate of immigration that they've ever had post World War II. And this is under the conservatives who are like, we're killing immigration.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So big mess. But
Like,
then the other
what?
part that really got me is one of their platform positions, and this was what Rishi Sunak actually did, is he set up this arrangement where he was like, okay, immigrants who come over from like Northern Africa, different places, we're going to make this arrangement with Rwanda, right? I don't know if you caught this, but like we're going to make this arrangement where we've bought effectively like an entire hotel, and anybody who comes here, we will kind of settle them in Rwanda, and we're going to put them up in a nice hotel, and we're going to give them job training, we're going to give them all these benefits, and we're basically going to resettle them in Rwanda so they don't come here, right? They have spent over something like $800 million on this program. And guess how many people they've resettled to Rwanda?
I don't. How many? So you mean they're going to take back to Rwanda? They're going to.
Well, I mean, just anybody who's coming in. They've set up this arrangement like Rwanda will take you, right?
So they redirect them back to Rwanda.
Yes.
And go to this
they don't
hotel.
even have to be from Rwanda, right? They're just like they're going to direct them to Rwanda.
We have an arrangement with Rwanda.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say very little.
0.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yes.
I think it's something like 8 people out of the hundreds of thousands who have immigrated to the UK have expressed interest, which puts it at something like $100 million per person who's expressed interest.
Now, do you know how? Okay, so I'm trying to get the details. Meaning they accepted the offer. They went down.
No, they didn't even accept the offer.
Oh, okay.
They were just like, oh, I might be interested. Yeah. Because they rented out the entire hotel.
Oh,
they put in a whole bunch of money in training. They've set up the flights. They've put
all this stuff. And
yes, like we're ready to go.
Volunteers.
Yes, but you guys we know you're coming here for a better life, but we're going to send you to Rwanda.
Yeah,
and nobody has taken them up on it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just like come on, right?
Well. Yeah. It's there's the video of the guy in Colorado, the leaked video that he's got all the immigrants and he's like speaking Spanish, and he's like, hey everybody, hey, we are full, we are maxed out like on our benefits. But if anyone wants to go to, and he lists off all like, you want to go to San Diego, if anyone wants to go there, you just let me know. They've got some great stuff going on. It's like, do I have any volunteers? And everyone's like sitting there. He's like, no, anyone? Takers? And I was like, no,
we're good. We're good. We're going to stay right here. We can come back to the immigration stuff, which kind of gets to my second point. Did you have something else?
What is your friend? So you said your friends are liberal in your UK friends.
Generally,
what is their stance on this? Are they like, yeah, immigration's a problem, or are they like, no, it's great, right?
Okay, so it's tricky. Right. And I mean, I'm like the master of getting into nuance here. So when I say it's tricky, I mean, I genuinely there are complications for a variety of reasons. And this gets more to my second point, but I'll mention some of the other things and then we'll get to my second point. So why it's a little bit tricky. I just heard a statistic that was kind of shocking to me. If you take London out of the UK, right? Then the average kind of living standard in the rest of the UK is equivalent to living in Mississippi in the US.
Okay.
Right? Which means it's actually quite low.
Right.
So London is
probably one of the lowest ones in the States, right?
Yeah, they're living just above the poverty line, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there are plenty of people outside of London who are doing quite fine, but many of them are actually quite impoverished. So London is like a financial hub for most of the world. It's got tons of money, right? There are people who are living very lavishly.
Dirty money, capital of the world.
Yes. So they're doing fine. You take them out of the UK, and the rest of the UK is basically like Mississippi level. And I'm not trying to shit on Mississippi, but they're not living the high life. It's not New York City, right? It's very, very different. So I thought that was really interesting. Where I went in the UK, I spent like a day in London, not even a day. I was flew into London and then immediately went to Aberdeen in Scotland, which is where I have a colleague. Aberdeen also has money, right? But that's because they are basically the oil capital of the UK. So in the North Sea, off of the north coast of the UK, they have
Yeah.
quite a bit of oil, but they're transitioning a lot of that into wind, right? So they have
Yeah.
massive windmills all over off the coast. You can see some of them from Aberdeen, but a lot of them are so far out you can't even see them. And all that power then comes back to the UK. So that it's like the power center. So that's where they have a lot of money, is because of the oil and the solar or the wind. Um, but as soon as you leave the surrounds of Aberdeen, you're into the country, right? And it's not a big city. We're not talking like millions of people. It's less than 1 million people in Aberdeen. And we did go on a couple of just like quick trips out of the city to go hiking. We did, a couple of things. And very quickly you see like these people are not extremely wealthy farmers who have massive tracts of land and they're doing massive agriculture. These are really humble homes. People don't have tons of money.
Yeah.
And then the conversation, and again, like I'm not mentioning names, so names don't matter here. I'm not trying to, name anybody. But very quickly, without me prompting any of this, people started to mention Polish immigrants, Romanian immigrants, um, as basically people coming into the country prior to Brexit, right? So post Brexit, things have shifted. But prior to Brexit, it was basically lots of people from the rest of the European Union in countries that didn't have as much wealth were moving to the UK, right? So Brexit was less about like immigrants from Africa or the Middle East. It was more about immigrants from the rest of Europe, basically from like Eastern Europe, where they
Yeah.
didn't have as much money. They were coming in and they were taking jobs as plumbers and all
Right.
sorts of things. They were taking, I mean, you hear it all the time, right? But it's like our immigration situation with Mexico is like Mexicans are coming in and they're
Yes.
taking jobs, right? That's how it gets framed. And I have very specific opinions about this, but immediately people started bringing that up, right? And it was in dozens of different contexts. So
Really?
it didn't really matter who I was talking to. They're like, oh, yeah, well, there was like Polish people here. And it wasn't, I mean, again, these were pretty progressive people. So none of them were
Right.
like, Polish people are terrible, right? But
Right. Right.
it
It's
was
not from a
clearly,
racist context or
yeah,
anything
it
like
was
that. It was,
not. It was like they just were mentioning it
yes.
repeatedly, that Polish people and Romanian people came up. And I was just like, wow,
But
like
they were all
I
from
had
the
no idea.
context of like that it's creating problems. It's creating issues.
Um, Sometimes it was benign. It was
Right.
never positive. It was never
Right.
framed in a
Right.
positive way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was benign.
They're just they're making a
Yeah.
comment,
Yeah,
right?
making a
And
comment. But I would say 30 to 40% of the time it was negative. The
right.
rest of the time it was like it's just happening. Right. So it was
Right.
like framed benignly. So it was just really weird that like that was not part of what I had heard in the run up to Brexit. I knew it was an immigration thing. Like I knew from the beginning it was immigration. I didn't realize who they were really upset with, and it was actually Polish people, right? More than
Mm.
anything, it was like Poles coming in because they didn't have as
Yeah.
much money and they were taking
Yeah.
jobs, right? And so that was definitely what was happening when I was up in Scotland. Um, I heard some other stories. I won't go into a lot of details, but so again, like most of the people I hang out with, they're also sociologists or social scientists. We're pretty left, we're pretty far to the left. We're very progressive. They're not going to be going after immigrants. But even in just like weird ways, subtle
The-
ways, there were little jabs at like Polish and Romanian immigrants that I was like, wow, this was really what this was all about. That's what Brexit was.
So last year, a year and a half ago, I guess, when the inflation. So what's I can't remember the girl before the prime minister before
Oh,
Richie Sunak.
Truss. Was Truss or
Hmm?
the one who was in for 44
The
days?
girl, the woman, yeah,
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 Liz
44
Truss, who
days.
was in for 44 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Liz Truss, yeah. And she, anyway, like when that was, the bond market went nuts. She got disposed, right? And like,
She was out
and
quick.
and then he came in, and like, anyway, there was a lot of like people were kind of freaked for a moment, and the bond market was kind of like going nuts. Anyway, there was a comment that got a lot of flack from, I think it was some PM said to the effect of UK is not a rich country anymore, and it got a lot of feedback from that.
Yeah.
A lot of people like really upset about him saying that because he was sort of dismissing it, saying we don't have the money for all these things, right? And you just got to get used to being poor, right? Which is, that wasn't a popular statement, but that was an interesting idea. I mean, I think he was sort of saying like we can't fund everything for everyone and do like your standard of living is no longer, we can't keep it up this high, and I think that's sort of them. No one wants to admit it yet, and I think that's why he got a lot of pushback and anger was he was kind of saying like, hey, yeah, we're not like what we used to be. And now he wasn't saying that from the perspective of immigration, right? Or that immigration was the cause, but he was just making that comment. And I think that's true that the standard of living has gone down. And it sounds like you pulled out a stat that's kind of reinforced that.
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting one. So that gets to my second point about why I think a lot of people are really frustrated with the conservatives in the UK. Obviously, it's just like frustration with the people who are in power. I think we both agree that like this is just a knee-jerk reaction. This is how people respond, which kind of bugs me, but so be it. Then the piece that I saw more of, and I was actually really surprised by as I talked to different people over there. So one of the things, and you can totally disagree with this, right? I mean, we try and agree, but you can totally disagree with this. One of the things that people kept saying is that conservatives would say things like, well, we don't have the money to fully fund higher education and the National Health Service and public transit. So we're going to have to make budget cuts, right? We got to cut budget because we just don't have the money. And so they'd cut it. And then service quality would go down, right? So the NHS, the National Health Service, isn't able to see people as quickly, right? And so then what the conservatives would do is they'd say, this is what you get with public services, right? Public services, they're broken, right? Like this, they're really a problem. So we need to go private. We need to privatize all of these things. And all of my progressive friends over there are like, they fucking broke it, right? Like they underfund the system. And then they turn around and say, system's broken. See, told you, if you have public systems, they're going to be broken. Just make it private and everything's good, right?
Yeah.
And so they kept pointing at this of like, they've done this with education throughout the UK. They've done this with healthcare. They've done it with public transit. They're doing it with all the things that are public, right? So they're effectively breaking it by underfunding it. And then they turn around and they're like, see, it's broken. This is why it needs to be private. So I think there's a big part of like animosity towards conservatives because they've done this. And the national health system over there is really well liked, right? Like people really like it, but everybody knows that it's underfunded and broken right now. Doctors are underpaid, wait lists for elective surgeries, and even some required surgeries that are not like immediate. They are stretching out to 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 14 months, 16 months. There are all sorts of problems with their National Health Service. The other problem that I like, again, I get insider knowledge because I was hanging out with academics. I had no idea how low salaries were for professors over there. Mm-hmm. So one of the people that I was talking to, she had a job here in the US, okay, in California, which, is an expensive state. She took a $30,000 pay cut to take her job in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Right. And she's happy with it because the quality of life is way better where she is than where she was. So she's like willing to do this. She's closer to family. So there are a variety of things, but it was a $30,000 pay cut for effectively the same job.
Wow.
Right. Massive differences. And everybody I talk to, there are, a bunch of academics over there in the UK. They're like, oh yeah, like salaries over here are not as good as they are in the US. And my conference was at Oxford, right? So like I was in Oxford. Several people mentioned to me that Oxford struggles to keep good people because effectively it was in a very specific department. I'm sure this varies by, which department and discipline, but in this particular department, they said Oxford basically is like bringing in top level people, but then private universities in the US poach them by just offering to pay them double.
Right.
They're effectively doubling their salary. Yeah. Right.
So they're experiencing it because they can't compete as much. Yeah. No, that's totally, and that's probably I think that's what that PM was. I mean, that said they were no longer rich anymore. They were probably talking about why they couldn't fund these services, right, as much as like they'd like to or whatever, right? And the fact is the UK, they have an inflation issue, right? They're like so the last few years the dollar has been extremely strong in the FX markets, like super pretty quite high. And you're like, well, that's weird because we're suffering from inflation. Why would the dollar be strong? That's because we're doing
Doing
less
better.
inflation than
Yeah.
everyone else is, right? Everyone's doing
Yes.
it much worse than we are.
Yeah.
And especially the UK, and causing quite a bit of issues, right? Which is just diluting everyone's paychecks and making everyone poorer. And that's an issue, right? And so
Mhm.
but the point is like they're struggling to pay for all the services they want, and and everything, and bad management, whatever, right? Poor
Yeah.
government, whatever it is, it's they're
Yeah.
clearly having problems and
They're
not.
having issues.
Yeah.
So I want to give one last example that I read about prior to going over, and then I mean I didn't actually see it while I was there, right? But it was a really interesting one. So I read a BBC article, again, that's one of my news sources, where they were talking about underinvestment by the company, which is it's a private company now, right? So it's not run by the government. It was I guess denationalized. It was privatized back in like the 1980s or something like that.
What
But it's
company?
a company that runs the sewage system in London
Oh,
that's supposed to prevent sewage from going into the Thames.
okay.
Okay. And apparently, since they took over this private company, right, they have underfunded investment into the infrastructure to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, but
Oh,
instead have been paying out 20% per year in dividends to their shareholders,
okay. Right.
which I think I mean, you know what dividends are. I don't think
Yeah.
you like dividends, right? Because they like you have to pay whatever. Um, but to get 20% per year in dividends is massive, right? Like you know that as well as I do. Like I don't have
Right.
any dividend stocks that pay 20% per year. I'm doing great if I've got a dividend that's paying 5 to 7%, right? A really great year it might be like 13%, but 20%? So
Right.
effectively they were taking all the money they were bringing in and turning around and handing that right back out to their wealthy shareholders,
Right. Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
right? To the point at which the Thames is radically polluted. No one can swim in it. It's a disgusting river because all the sewage is just running in because they haven't invested in infrastructure at all. And now the company's actually bankrupt and is probably going to be nationalized.
Right. Right. Yes. Well, clearly some like crony capitalism here is going on, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, yeah, is if you're making a point that a state-owned facility would have been more efficient, right? Probably in this case, but
In
like the
this case, I
general
think so.
rule
Yeah.
is usually it's the opposite. But
Yeah.
yes,
So
clearly some
I brought
corruption.
yeah, so I brought a lot of that up because I was like, okay, clearly it's people just knee-jerk reaction. Conservatives in power, we're not doing well, vote them out. But
Yes,
there's also some real things happening there, right? That I think at least some people are aware of. Not everybody, but at least some people are like, look, they're breaking the national health system. They're underfunding education. I can talk more about one of the ways that they're underfunding education, which is again, I heard like firsthand stuff. Um, they're doing all sorts of like sketchy things, and it's not like there aren't. I mean, you mentioned this, right? It's not like there aren't a bunch of billionaires in the UK. If
right,
you've got money in the UK, it's a good place to live,
right.
right? Like
Well,
there's
yeah.
there
Every place is
plenty
a good place to live if you got tons of money.
to
But
so there are plenty of people who are profiting off of what they're doing in the UK, but the average person in the UK, the average Brit is not, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think this is why there was a big reaction. So I want your take on that second piece. I think we totally agree on the first piece. What's your take on the second piece?
So second piece meaning what? Reframe it.
Like the underfunding of all of these public systems and then turning around and saying, look, those systems are broken. We need to privatize them. And then just like the crony capitalism and corruption that's clearly happening. Like this was a big BBC story where it's just open. Like everybody knows about this, but they're not doing
Yes.
anything about it. I'm wondering to what extent that also contributed to the backlash against the Conservative Party over there.
Well, okay. So first off, I think there's a few things. The pollution of the Thames is like reminds me like the what is it? The Flint
Michigan.
the
Lead
water, yeah,
poisoning.
the water poisoning, right? Same issue, right? Someone's messing crap up and we can't get it fixed and there's a mess. And it's just like, I don't, I don't know what that means. Like, I think, here's what I think. I think the overall arching issue is that the country is becoming less rich, right? And they're becoming they're going, they're falling out of their first world status, into a not impoverished nation, but like not as rich nation. And they're dealing with those pains, right? They're spending more than they should be. They're trying to, they're not bringing in enough and they're spending too much, right? Which is causing inflation, underfunding things. I don't think there's any conspiracy or anything like that. Obviously, they're going to spin it however they can spin it, right? Like the Tories, the conservative
Conservatives.
party
Yeah.
is going to say like, "Hey, oh yeah, see, this is what you get with public services," and so they're just spinning it out. Like, so I don't think there's. I think they're just underfunding because they don't have enough money and they're dealing with a lot of issues, even though they do weird stuff with immigration, but like they pay a lot of stuff out with immigration. That just I don't get that.
Yeah,
But
that one was great.
the what do they call it? The dole or something, like they can't remember what they call it there, but that you can get on that anyway. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's like it's these guys, whoever they are, get them out. And I think but they're actually they're embracing the Labor Party, which I think is just like, oh, whoever's no one else is going to win. It's the two big parties, right? It'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's like when the 2008 financial crisis, right? And Bush is in office. The Republicans are not going to win that, right?
Right.
They were not going to win, never going to win. And like, so it's like, oh, then who are we going to get? Who else is left? The Democrats. So they're going to
Hmm.
win, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's why I say the narrative with the Reform Party and then picking up so many seats is actually speaks a lot about what's actually going on. And because I think there's great dissatisfaction. I think everyone can generally agree, but I think it's not like, oh, we need more of the Labor Party and more the leftists. I think it's like, no, we want anything different, and it could be over here too and over here, but we're just gonna go with the person who's gonna win, which is the Labor Party. But like, but I think there's actually some fractioning of like, I think there's going to be I think in the next election cycle, Reform Party is going to actually do really well. They're going to pick up a lot more. And so, but we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Interesting. One last interesting tidbit, which is kind of strange. So the underfunding of higher education has led to, I don't want to call it corruption. It's really not corruption, but led to this really weird situation in the UK. It used to be the case because when you think of like top universities in the world, right at the top was going to be like Oxford and Cambridge, right? Like you're going to
Yeah,
put them
for
right up
sure.
there.
Hmm.
And the UK is well known for having really good universities. Prior to Brexit, UK universities were full of European students, right? Students
Hmm.
from the mainland, because they could easily transfer over. That was not a big deal, right? Like this was perfectly fine. Post Brexit, um, a lot of their students in higher education are not from Europe anymore. They're from
Mm.
China, they're from India, and they're from Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I was really surprised by, right? Like I didn't
Yeah, I
realize
wasn't
that's what was
expecting you to
going
say
on.
that
But it's because those people pay massive amounts of money to go
because
to
of the name
university there.
status.
Well, yes, the name status, but there's no arrangement that they would pay. If you go to college in the UK, right? They've set this. So this is very different from the US, right? In the US, if you go to college or every university is going to charge you a different amount for tuition, right?
Mm.
And I can just give you some numbers that I know off the top of my head. My wife's university, which is the big state sponsored university here in the city, right? University of South Florida, it's like $7,000 a year for tuition. It's not terrible, right? Like
Oh, no.
that's not bad. My university, which is a private university, is about $33,000 a year for tuition. Okay. We're on the cheap end for private universities. You hit a Columbia or something like that, it's like $95,000 a year for tuition. Okay. So much more expensive. So there's a wide range that you would pay for tuitions. I think, is it Northwestern is over $100,000 a year? Like some of them are just like really, really crazy. In the UK, it's £8,000, maybe
Oh.
nine. That's it
Hmm.
for all of the universities. unless you're from Africa or China or India, and then they can charge you 30,000 pounds a year, 40,000 pounds a year.
Ah, I see.
Does that make
So
sense?
it's fixed for
Uh,
EU.
Somehow, right? But
Sorry,
Brexit
it's a
also
fixed
made it that
price
it's
for
just like
EU or something, but then
certainly
outside
for
of
the
that, it's like,
UK,
yeah,
maybe for the EU as well. But
right.
outside of that,
Outside is like,
you're
yeah,
paying a premium,
yeah,
right?
which is similar to
And
like our out of state, in state
yes,
kind of idea, right? Where
absolutely.
in state's cheaper, but out of
Right.
state's going to be probably what
So
you want to charge.
so now this is this really weird situation, right? You're getting lots of students going to higher education in the UK
Yeah,
from these
we've
other
incentivized the
countries
universities
to
to
basically import immigrants, right?
yes, right,
Because they're paying a premium to go,
right.
and a lot of them are not really all that qualified to be there.
Well, and they're taking advantage of it to get a passport, right? To get into the UK as well.
That, and then they've got a Western education, so then they can go back and be like, "Hey, I went to Oxford, right? Or I
Right.
went to
Yeah, which sounds
wherever."
awesome. And yeah,
Yeah, and then they go back and they're like, a top executive at some company in their home country, or they just
yeah,
stay in the UK, right?
right.
So that's just one of those other things that I was like, oh my gosh,
Did
I
you
had
see
no idea
that
that was
on the
going. Oh,
campus? Did you
100%.
see the? Oh, you did.
100%. Yeah. As I was walking around the two campuses that I was on, I mean, that's, it's weird, right? I'm an academic. What do? I go to other universities, right?
Yeah.
But on both of the campuses, I had a personal interaction with one of the students who was a graduate student from Africa, on one of the campuses, right? That like it was one of the students that was in that department where I happened to be visiting. I was like, wow, like this is actually here, right? Like it's happening. But on the other one, Oxford, and it was actually kind of the case. The first time I went to Oxford is 2009. I was there over a holiday break, and the only other people who were still in the dorms, I stayed in the dorms that time, were students from China.
Hmm.
It was all students from China. This time while I was there, yeah, it was actually really surprising. And then it was a lot of people not from European countries, let's put it that way. But then the other part that like really surprised me, I don't know, you've been to the UK, yes, Tom? You've been to the UK?
No, not
No, you've never
recently.
been. Okay.
I
Um,
have, but a long time ago.
so Oxford itself, right? Like pretty expensive city, but nice. It's a nice city, but it's small. It's not a huge city. It's pretty small. Um, the hotel I stayed in didn't have a gym, and I like to exercise every day. But one thing they did do is they let you borrow bikes, so they just had like little cruiser bikes that you could pedal around. So every morning before my conference, I would grab my bike and just like ride around the city. And I didn't want to ride on the roads. It's a little, sketch about that. So I found a couple of bike trails, and one of them went from the university itself, like the northern part of the university. It went through this bike trail that was also like a walking path, but it was a bike trail. It was clearly a bike trail to a town that was like not far away, less than a mile away,
Hmm.
called Marston. Right. So I ended up riding there and finding some bike trails that I could go and just like, do some miles on just to get my exercise. I was genuinely shocked. It looks like a working class town. Like not middle class, working class poor neighborhoods
Hmm.
just outside of Oxford. And I was like, I bet this is where most of like the restaurant employees, the like, the
But they're
manual
servicing
laborers,
the.
yeah, like all the people servicing the university, I bet this is where they live.
It sounds like the university is in decline, and they're exploiting basically their name recognition and their the system to just milk it for as much money as they can while they can.
I had
Is
no
what it
idea.
seems like.
Yeah, I had no idea about this because in my mind, still, like Oxford is consistently
Yeah,
ranked as
you're
like
like,
the
oh,
top university in the world.
top, right.
And I get over there and they're like, yeah, we're hemorrhaging faculty because other universities are just stealing them. And the city itself looks like, it's seen better days. It's still fine, but then you go immediately outside of the city and it's
And you're like,
it's blue
ooh,
collar working class. Like I felt very comfortable. Like I'm
right.
not haughty
You're not an
hoity-toity
elitist,
about.
Ryan.
Yeah, like I don't care about
You
this,
don't get
right? Like I can
invited to
hang out with
the
anybody.
who's
Yeah.
going to be the next president club.
I'm not in those clubs. So I didn't feel unsafe, right? But I was like, wow, this is not like
Yeah, it was
these are not
eye-opening.
mansions. This is not McMansions that you'd find in like, certain
Right.
suburbs around the US. It was it was pretty run down. And I was like,
Wow.
wow, this is what's going on in the UK. It's
Yeah.
not what we like. If you have this vision of the UK as just like these beautiful manor houses and massive country estates and mansions and castles and like That's not what's going on in the UK right now.
All right.
Things are rough.
I'm going to you're making me think of something. I'm going to go back to, so remember I threw out my idea about the persecution of Christians is like my prediction that we're going to like turn to. So I was thinking about that. I had an afterthought was that people don't do radical stuff until there's a lot of pain, right? It's the Germans didn't turn on the Jews until they were like drowning in inflation and totally impoverished from the war, right? And then they're like, and this guy's like, you know what we should blame?
Scapegoat those guys.
Yeah, yes. And that's what happened. And I think that's the issue, right? Is you start, and like the thing is immigrants might be the scapegoat, right? I don't know, right? Like it's these immigrants, true or not true, yeah. Right? And like that I think is an issue you have to watch for, right? Well, and what the bigger point I'm trying to make is that radicalization to scapegoating doesn't happen until there is that's what fosters it is the incubator is you have this like economic pain that's like, and you're like, oh, this sucks. What? Oh, it's the immigrants, it's the Jews, it's the this, right? It's the Christians, it's whatever, right? And it's like that's why. Because I agree with you, it's hard to see today. What I was saying is like you're seeing these plantings and that stuff accelerates when the pain happens. And like that's when you get that radicalization, these radical ideas. So anyway, we're not in that right now. We're not experiencing that right now. Is it coming? Maybe. I'd say so. But anyway, that's my thoughts. But so that's interesting. And it almost that I kind of heard things like that, and like I said, like the UK is not a rich country anymore, but like you saying that is interesting to validate some things I've been hearing that from what you've seen firsthand.
It was pretty interesting. Anything else you want to add? We good?
That's it.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back with another episode soon. Have a good one.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
Listeners can get their own Lux bidet with 10% off by ordering at luxbidet.com and using our promo code FCBG10, Finding Common Battlegrounds 10.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.